My name's Coach Briscoe and welcome to the Compete Method. So what is it? It's like having me in your back pocket so that you can finally go forward and achieve the results you are after. From knowing what drills and progressions to focus on, to how exactly to prepare for that competition next weekend, and to finally get back into why you started training in the first place, because you love it. So just give me a couple of minutes of your time today and I will explain to you exactly what the Compete Method is and what you can expect to gain from the process. I've coached over 700 athletes at different stages in their journey to learn new gymnastic skills, increase their Olympic lifting capacity, and generally the confidence in the way that they move. Ellie, on the left-hand side of the screen, was a complete beginner when I started working with her. She'd never started any gymnastics progressions at all. Most of the Olympic lifting movements were completely new, and she has been training with me for a couple of years now, and last month actually entered her first RX competition and she won it as an individual female. So that is absolutely awesome from her. Nolan was a little bit further along than Ellie when he started with me. He'd been programming for himself for a long time and dipping in and out of various different online resources. However, he was frustrated at the lack of progress he was seeing in line with the work and hours he was putting in within the gym. I've now been coaching Nolan for a couple of years and we've added on a huge volume of skills. He can now do ring muscle ups, handstand walking. We've increased all of his lifts and his confidence has soared. And both of these cases are examples of that when you have the right systems in place, progress becomes inevitable. So what actually happens when you start the Compete Method? If you decide that this is right for you and you want to pull the pin, the first thing I am going to do is send you a detailed onboarding form. In here, I'm going to be asking you questions such as your training goals. What exactly do you want from me? And what is your best case scenario of what you want to achieve from this process? I'll ask you what your number one training priority is right now, your mid-strength goals, and then things that you would like to achieve if there was time in your training week. Having your goals ordered in terms of priority gives me a ton of direction when I'm putting things together for you to make sure that your training week is hitting the things at the top of the list as the priority, and everything else trickles down from there. The amount that you will train will depend on how much time you have available to train. You're going to tell me in this form how many days you want to be in the gym with me, if you want to do classes or not, and how long you want your training sessions to last for. And there is no right or wrong here. You're going to tell me what actually works for you, taking into account your work schedule, your family life, your personal preference. I'll also find out, and this is very important, exactly what your ability level is. I'm going to be asking you questions across all of the gymnastics movements from toaster bar through to ring muscle ups and all of the strength lifts as well. And I will find out where you stand in each skill, where your strength is across the board. And this is going to help me to depict where weaknesses, where your weak points are and what holes I need to fill in order to take you towards your goals. Now, once I have thought about your onboarding form, I put your program together, when I give it to you, I actually send you through a detailed video similar to this one that you're watching now, where I explain back to you the program that you are receiving. I say, hey Sally, your main goal at the minute was to achieve a bar muscle up. In order to do that, we need to do X, Y, and Z in your training week, and you'll find these here. The reason we're doing that is because you have this weak point, and that is this. So when you go into your first training week with your program, you don't just have your actual program and the bread and butter of what you're meant to be doing. You have complete clarity over why you're doing it, why you're doing the drills that you are, why you're doing the strength pieces that you are, how it all fits together, and what your progression should look like if everything goes according to plan. And I feel like that knowledge that you will have before you even start your program is extremely powerful and a great indicator of results that you will go for to achieve. During your actual training week, what happens? So you've got your program, you know why you're doing it, and you've got all this clarity and understanding of what you're doing. You go into the gym, you do your first session. Now, during this session, you're going to take some videos of what you're doing and you're going to send them to me on WhatsApp. Here, I will be individually coaching you and telling you exactly what I need you to be thinking about next week, what went well in that movement, what didn't go well, what sticking points you're facing, and how you're going to go forward and correct them. It's very likely that, like in this video on the right of the screen, I will be drawing over your videos. I will be sending you screenshots of things. I might be sending you video links of a drill that I want you to try. I might be sending you a voice note. The way that I will deliver my feedback to you will be in relation to what you need at the time. And this again is going to give you confidence and clarity that when you go into your next session, you know exactly what you're doing in order to fix the thing that happened in the last session. As we progress from week to week like this, you don't waste any time and no stones are left unturned along the way. And that's why when athletes come on board, they achieve new skills and new PBs in a matter of weeks, compared to months of their previous training where they don't have this knowledge on what's actually going wrong with their training. So you've got your program, you've got all of your feedback, you're there achieving all of these amazing things in the gym, but that isn't where the compete method finishes. A recent addition to my coaching, which I am so excited to talk about for one of the first times on this video, is an athlete portal that we have been working really hard to create. In here, there is a lot of supplementary education and knowledge that you can use as much or as little of as you like along your coaching time with me. Just to walk through some of the examples, there is an entire nutrition section in here where if you want to, you can work out the calories that you should be eating right now in order to fit whatever body composition goal that you have, whether you're trying to gain or lose. You can work out the carbs that you should be eating, and I will explain to you how you should cycle carbs around your training. You'll have information here about how much protein you should be eating and why, what supplements are actually useful, what ones should you go out and buy, and how are they going to help you along the process. Another really cool one, which has been shown to be so useful so far, is the comp rec section. In here, I walk you through, okay, you've got a competition at the end of the month. What do you need to start doing 2 weeks out? What does your training week look like on the week leading into your competition? How do you start carb loading 2 days out? What foods do you take with you to eat between events at the competition? What do you do for the 3 days after the competition so that you can come back into training successfully? They're just a couple of examples of the ever-growing athlete portal that we are building to help support you to go forward and achieve whatever goals that it is that you have, whether it's a more competitive element or if you're training for more of your health and mindset. This leads me nicely on to talking about some athletes that you might be able to relate to. Now, I coach an entire range of scale and intermediate athletes from 17 years old up to 60 years old, and from absolute beginners through to almost competing at the RX level. Every athlete that I coach looks slightly different, and you will be no different. What you will receive from me is going to directly relate to the things that you initially put in your onboarding form, and then what we learn about each other from the process as we go forwards. Here are 2 examples of athletes. Maybe you can relate to one of them, maybe you can't. Holly on the left-hand side of the screen, she is a really, really busy mom. She doesn't have much time to train in her training week. She does 2 or 3, maybe 30-minute sessions. She came on board initially because she really wanted to hit her toaster bar, and she did this in the first 6 weeks. Since then, we're working on her kipping pull-ups and generally increasing her upper body strength, and she is absolutely loving it. On the right-hand side of the screen, we have Belle. She came to me with a much bigger and broader list of goals. She wanted to pretty much improve all of her gymnastics and all of her Olympic lifting and her fitness. She has a much bigger training time in the week. She does 4 days of 90 minutes, and her schedule spans a lot wider range of things. Maybe one of these athletes is useful for you to relate to, but the point I'm more trying to make is that there is a whole range of people on this program, and I'm sure if you are a committed individual that you will be one of those too. Frequently asked questions, just going to whiz through these. Is this program individualized? Absolutely, yes, it is. The program that you will receive directly relates to your goals, your personal schedule, and what you're trying to get out of this process. Can you still do classes? Absolutely. Most athletes that I coach do a mixture of this program and their classes, and the balance and the mix they have between the two is completely individualized, and it's something I will talk to you personally about. What time is required? There is no minimum time. I have athletes that train for very few days for a very short time period. I have athletes that train almost every day a week for a much longer time period. This is going to relate to what you want and what you have available during your training week. What happens if you have competitions or holidays coming up? We love competitions because we'll train for them. We'll make sure that your cycle matches the event that you have coming up, and we'll try and get your deloads in line with that as well. Same thing with holidays. Most of the time that we can make the cycles work really well around holidays. If you're going away for an extended period, that's no problem. We can pop you on a pause. Hopefully this explains a bit more about how the program works. Of course, ask me any questions that you like on Instagram, and enjoy reading the rest of this document where I will go forward and explain the rest.